Hello and welcome. Oh, look at my hair. Sorry about that. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another of our LinkedIn Live, Tribal Impact LinkedIn Live sessions. For those of you that are listening on the podcast and can't see my crazy hair, sorry about that, but you have to go to the replay on LinkedIn. Welcome back. I was just thinking, I think this might be my first one of 2023. This is really exciting. And today I am joined, but I'm really delighted by this guest because I've been speaking to Maya for quite some time. Maya Sankova from Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Company. So Maya, welcome. Welcome.
So happy to be here, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. And it was interesting because just before we came on, I was explaining to Maya, the reason we run these sessions is really to showcase the great programs that are happening around the globe around activating employees on social media, whether that's employee advocacy, social selling, activating leaders, activating employees as influencers. It's just such a great idea to share the good best practices that are going on just so other people can learn. So thank you for joining us, Maya. And for anyone who's on, there's always about a 2-minute delay on the live chat. So pop in the comments if you're here, say hello, say where you're dialing in from, and also put some questions to Maya as well. So Maya, just to get started, did you want to just give us an overview of who you are, your role, where you are, just to give a bit of context for everyone?
Thank you. Well, I'm Maya. I'm Bulgarian, working in Coca-Cola HBC. Maybe here is coming the first question. What is this HBC towards the Coca-Cola? Well, Coca-Cola HBC is one of the leading bottling partners of the Coca-Cola company. The way we work, it's like as a system, as a networking model. So while the Coca-Cola company is providing the strategic marketing and the so-called secret recipe of the beloved brands, what's going on afterwards from the plants, bottling, the logistic and selling is actually takeover from bottling partners, as we are Coca-Cola Europe Pacific partners and etc. About Coca-Cola HBC, so we are on the 29 markets. Let's say Europe mainly, Eurasia and Africa a bit. It's really exciting to work with so many cultures, and we have about 36,000 employees currently. So it's an amazing journey. I'm doing... Currently, I'm leading the group employer branding and digital communications. I'm already in the role for 4 years. The part of my role, let's say the key things, is actually to consolidate the position of Coca-Cola HBC as a preferred employer on our markets. And it's a big part, of course, of this job is to manage the social media talents, social media channels for communicating with the talents. And this we do together with a comms team. And in general, the model is maybe a bit unusual, at least the people outside say it. So employer branding sits in the talent function, in the talent COE, partnering with talent acquisition and talent development with all people and culture, let's say, functions. But when it comes to comms, we are as well a partner of the comms people, and we co-manage some of the channels as well. We have a specific social media channels only for communication with the talents.
36,000 employees. That's a lot of employees across a lot of markets. We're going to touch on that a bit later, actually, around that. Hello, Christoph. Already we've got a question in. I'm going to save that one, Christoph, when we get down to more of the employee advocacy and we dig into that. And hello, Vanessa. Welcome back. I think nice to have you. Please pop stuff in the comments. So I want to start actually, because I don't think we've had anyone from HR on this series before. So having someone from HR leading an employee advocacy program, they typically sit in either marketing, digital channels, communications, which sounds like you work quite closely with. But I've already going off script. Sorry, Donna. We've got Donna in the background. I'm already going on. What got you exploring employee advocacy from an HR function? What was how did that all start?
Well, I can, well, for me, simple because it's all about people. And when we built our advocacy program, it was a very kind of natural next step in the way we built our employer branding. And maybe it makes sense to put a bit of a context.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started the entire employer branding journey in the way it is now back in 2017, when we started to create employer value proposition in a very, very holistic way. When I go back to this time, back in that time, I was managing this locally here in the country. It took literally months to extract this employer value proposition that is not just appealing for our external talents, but is very authentic.
Yeah.
So we wanted to be sure that we don't sell just a good vision externally, but we really sell who we are.
Yeah.
And that external, let's say, talents are as much important as the internal talents. So this is how it was going on. And from where I also started my passion to the employer branding from this entire process. And then step by step, we started building unified vision, how we stay on the market, how we are perceived, different from the Coca-Cola company, yet in the same system. And then we started to build the social media channels. And this was like 4 years ago, not so far away. So we built Facebook careers from scratch. Now we have 25 pages, Facebook careers pages. We revamped totally LinkedIn. We started recruitment marketing campaigns, a lot of things related purely with social media, but somehow this felt to be really the right way if you want to stay authentic and to show who you are. Yeah. In my vision for doing this, how this employer branding will evolve in a year or two, the way I dream to be is to have employer branding that is driven by the employees,
Love
not that
that.
is not that as is now the companies selling something.
That is a trend though we are seeing in the whole employee advocacy space actually, which is the employees as content creators in their own right. And if you can kind of facilitate that process, then everything sort of joins together to create the employer brand, because everybody's a expert or influencer, or everyone's an influencer. But if you can kind of facilitate that process, you've got an employer brand that's quite authentic. I love what you say there. We didn't want to sell a vision out externally. We wanted to sell who we are. So that's, I think for me, that is what defines employer branding, really, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit about the advocacy program that you've put in place? Because that's how I can't remember how we met, Maya, but I remember it was to do with that. When did you start this process of, at what point after you did the employee value proposition, did you then move to, how do we enable our employees to tell that story?
So yeah, once we had all the social media channels and we started to build recruitment marketing campaigns, so all the infrastructure, let's say, was developed and delivered. We have been as well working a lot on the storytelling side before having advocacy. We started with building this as internal capability step by step. Back in the same moment when we really invest in having social media channels, we as well started. This is the moment when our This Is Me app was born. Maybe this is something you didn't know, we've never talked about. So this is something like an Instagram type of app for our employees only.
Okay.
It's called This Is Me at Coca-Cola HBC. And by nature, it is an employer branding app because you are invited to submit images or just very short videos, but all of them goes under presenting your own precious moment at work. the way you celebrate success with your team, the way you learn, the way you fail, you know, all these things. And in some moment, we were able to evolve this like a community. We brought on the app close to 5,000 people. Every month, they submitted a lot of authentic content. You can see everything from marketing activations to the lovely pizzas in Italy. So it was really, really the life behind, you know. And these were the first pieces of employee generated content that lately we started to directly reshare on our social media channels. But let's say this was the first step. Then we built a lot of capabilities internally about storytelling, workshops, working with the senior leaders on exposing it. And somehow advocacy came naturally as the next step on bringing even more authenticity, bringing even more trust in what we were doing.
That is
So
fabulous. Do you still use the app then? Is that still something that works internally?
yes,
And
yes.
so how long have you been doing employee advocacy? At what point did you get a tool to help facilitate that process?
Well, we started it in the summer of 2020.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
it's a bit more than 2 years already.
Yeah.
Um, well, it was the process itself probably will be helpful for somebody who is now starting the program. From the same beginning, we wanted to put the advocates in the heart of what we are doing, and this is how the entire approach actually run around. So even building the strategy was a co-creation. So into the employer branding community. And when I say employer branding community, understand in every country we have employer branding managers or experts who are locally strategizing the employer branding. And when it comes to advocacy, they are really the drivers of advocacy, the people who are building the local advocacy communities. They have a crucial role. I mean, they are really this driver of advocacy that makes the whole engine works fluently. So we sit together on the group level and with the countries to design something that will work for us, that is locally relevant and that will work as well for our advocates. Because you know it cannot be one side process. The advocates, they have as well to win something.
Mm.
And yeah, we've made all our benchmarking studies and all these things, but at the end, we were in one moment, I still remember this, uh, when we went into direction, building the profiles of our ideal future advocates, and then we stopped and we said, at the end of the day, what is really important to be an advocate? It's really good to have a huge network. It's really good to be already present on social media. But those are things that is nice to have. What is really important is to love what you do and to be eager to share it, to be proud of what you do and to be eager to say it loud. And then if you don't know how to build a network on LinkedIn, we are here to help. If you don't know how to write a good copy, we are here to help. So this became a very nice collaboration, I would say, with our community of advocates. Now we have more than 1,000 on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
We started small with 200 when we kicked it off, and then growing up step by step. And still, to be honest, we don't have these ambitions to go much above it. We want
Yeah.
to develop an engaged community, really community, and I'm super proud to be part of this.
Well, I mean, that is quite an impressive growth in 2 years to go from 200 to 1,000. But I love your focus on employees are at the heart of this. This is not about having lots and lots of people sharing content. This is about driving passion in the jobs and being able to communicate that through storytelling and giving them the skills to be able to tell those stories in an authentic way that in turn represents the brand. Is that, have I summarized that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you being part of this capability building as well.
Oh, you're welcome, Maya. We love working with you guys. So yeah. Oh, I've got loads of questions that you talked about there. We're going to dig into a little bit more about how you scale this because you've mentioned about the employer brand community in local countries. So I want to touch on that because a question that keeps coming up time and time again is how you scale across borders, across languages, cultures, and things. But I'm going to throw a bit of a question in for you from Christoph because if you're still on, Christoph, I'm going to put it there. What do you think about TikTok for employee advocacy? Go on, Maya.
Oh my
Oh,
God, good.
any opinions?
So, I love the idea. We have a plan to test it.
You do?
Nobody is now afraid, let's say. So maybe now we jump to the future and then we go again back to the past.
Yeah.
But, now when we have this advocacy stable and, and yeah, and a bit of my envisioning of this whole story. I think that now having these engaged advocates, it's a perfect moment to convert them as well into creators.
Yeah.
We can call them influencers, whatever you call it. But really stepping on a native content, created from them and using it for making this employer branding even more transparent. And TikTok, I am not Gen Z, but I have invested a lot of time of really kind of, let's say, evaluating the pros and cons of having it on TikTok. So for this talent group that is marketing, that is management trainees, interns, and etc., I think we will lose if we are not on TikTok. So part of those type of creators, let's say, I see perfectly fitting into the idea the interns that we are having, the management trainees we are having. I think it's part of DNA to create content. So our idea is literally to have a small TikTok channel where it will be the stage for them to share their experience.
I love that. Yeah. Hope that answered your question, Christoph.
We
Thank you
can
very
make
much.
another call
I know.
for how it went because this will be one of my 2023 challenges.
Yeah, we might have another session on that, I think. Could you talk a little bit about some of the successes you've experienced, Myra, on this journey that you've had over the last 2 years with employee advocacy? And I don't know whether even employee advocacy is the right term, but, creating an authentic employer brand through social media might be the better way of putting it.
Well, maybe somehow I don't feel like starting with the numbers.
No.
Though they are impressive when you think on the advocacy from the business case lens, let's say. We reach more than 10 million people with advocates content, and there were more than 15,000 posts coming out of the advocates group. So this was more than 5 times more of what we have achieved through the company channels.
Wow.
So it proved the value I think for our stakeholders. It is not kind of awkward idea, or that we should be kind of afraid of. However, if you ask me what makes me personally proud is this engaged community that we have with the advocates. We have a global community where we make from the serious things, like involving them in the communication campaigns, involving them in everything that matters for the business, but as well a lot of fun things. So run challenges. We recognize them for what they do. They share their stories. So this is the part that really makes me kind of happy and really proud of what we have achieved.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that, please, Maya? So you talk about, yeah, the numbers are great, but actually it's the community that makes me proud. So what are the sort of challenges that you run? Can you give us some examples, please, and how you recognise the employees?
Um, well, at the beginning, we needed a tool to support us,
Okay.
to scale the program, and as well for all those colleagues that are still, you know, uh, our advocates, or just let's say our colleagues, because it's really a bit awkward to say advocates, they start from, I would say, different places. Some of them are really kind of, they have this habit to be on social media, to build their personal branding, and it didn't start with us building advocacy. So for them it's just natural part of who they are, but they are as well a big group of our advocates that wish to do it. They are really proud, but they need a lot of help. So we started to partner with a e-platform that helps us to bring content for the advocates, uh, as well helping us to gamify the process.
Mhm.
So to recognize them, to give awards, to to make it a bit of a fun. On the more serious side as well, having a platform in place helps you to know in every single moment how you run it. Because without data, to be honest, it's very difficult to move forward.
Mhm.
And yeah, and here coming to your question about probably the challenge that we hope we overcome, though. It was natural that when we started the program, it was this buzz, and we have a lot of people that joining and etc. But in 2020, in the spring, we felt like we go in the flat mode. And
Yeah.
of course, I was thinking about it was very much of this uncertainty in the environment,
Mm.
the total, as Edelman barometer says, this cycle of distrust across.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The
Um,
Edelman barometer. Mm.
so you feel it, and it was then the moment to think about, okay, how we go out of this flat mode. So we have a core of advocates that used already to to be this, to be part of their daily life, but still we were not growing up.
Yeah.
And what we have done, okay, we sit, we analyze the data from all possible resources, also with your help here, uh, to really understand what are these kind of moments where we can touch and turn. And what again here was the crucial moment where these local employer branding managers and advocacy leads that bring this life, because they invested a lot of time, they know their communities, and it comes on top of everything that we can do from the global level.
Mm. So this is a real, I love that phrase, touch and turn. So identifying the people that aren't yet in your program officially, but are active already out there that maybe could benefit from being part of the community, sort of being really, that's what I love about your approach, Maya, is that you're very targeted about how you scale. You're not just going out there going, woo, we've got a new program, everybody join us. It's not unless you talk about what's in it for me. So if you start to look at, who's doing it well and then bringing them into the program at the level that they're mature at, so it helps. I love the touch and tone. So this, for me, is a good time to jump into how you scale, because one of the questions we get a lot is how do we add more members? Oh, I love the Costa Cup, by the way. Yes. So people probably don't realise, but Costa's part of
Yes.
CCHBC, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, I should have shares in Costa. I spend most of my life down there buying coffees. So, but anyway, we digress. The employer branding people that help support this in local countries. Can you tell me a little bit about how you enable them to recruit and build the advocacy approach?
Yeah. Well, here I would say again they have this freedom to do it. So there are many different touch points on how you bring the advocates. Some countries decided that they will go broad and they will make broad campaigns announcing we have this. Do you want to join and etc. While the others they made it much more targeted and they really invited people to come if they wish, because in our case advocacy is and will, I guess, always will be something very much coming from the heart. There are no KBIs. When you go and when you are an advocate, it's because you feel it, and then yeah. So both approaches work. It very much depends on the local culture. That's why I'm saying to make the things locally relevant is of a huge importance. As well, what we have created during the journey, there is for all those people that maybe didn't hurt or didn't show the communication or maybe were not selected. We have built a special place on our intranet. We call it Social Media Hub, where we tell about the program. So if by some reason you saw that we do these lovely digital capability trainings and you want to do it, you heard of a colleague that is already advocate and you don't know whom to ask, you have this place that you can just go scroll around, see all the things that are running, and you can just write me, and then we continue in the journey. So it's part of our culture to have these warm relationships. So it can go really very informal, but on a more strategic view, what we plan to do is really to know, based on data, who are these people that are already active on LinkedIn. They have a huge networks already. Their content is engaging. And this is how, based on data, we as well plan now to reapproach them and to invite them to join the community. So there are many touch points that you can actually be part of it. It's not this project that is just,
No.
Also,
Yeah, but the local employer branding people, are they responsible for putting local content into the platform as well as bringing on new members from the local market? Is that their responsibility?
yes, it is. Though, to be honest, we try to make their life easier, and we
Okay.
try to automate this entire process, so they really focus on keeping their local advocates community engaged, and this is it. So we
Okay.
try to automate all the process of content, placement on the platform, let's say.
For
Of
them.
course, when we are working with employees who create content, then their role is as well there.
Yeah. And is this how you overcome the language barrier then? Because you've got local representatives who can talk to local employees who
Yes.
understand the local culture. Yeah, I do honestly believe I was talking to customer this week actually about that, like a champions program, ambassador program, evangelist program, whatever you want to call it. You need people locally to drive the enthusiasm, I think. And it doesn't have to be a full-time role. It's obviously quite often it's part of someone's role to be part of this program. But I just think it's very interesting how you've built that network.
It makes a lot of sense. Also, they are as well excited to test new things. I have been talking today with two of my colleagues, and they're having these, ideas, campaigns in mind, what to do, how to do it. And they get excited. And this excitement is much more kind of, it becomes viral
It
when
does.
the the employer branding elite in the country is able to spread it.
Yeah, it's quite an energy, I think, and it takes a certain type of person to do that role, which that's for another topic, I think. But it does take a certain type of person. Um, okay. Oh wow. What else was I going to ask you? I've got so many things that I've written down. Why have I put growth? I don't even know why I put that there. Anyway, right. I write keywords down, Maya, and then I can't remember why I wrote them. Anyway, so the tool that you're using, you don't have to disclose which one it is, but how do you get people on board using it? Have you got some automated way of bringing people on? So it's like, I want to be part of the community. Okay, there you go. Here's your login and here's some training, or or do you just, is it
Not
intuitive so they can?
really. No, not really. It's again, it's the advocate. You know, you need to be kind of invited to have this human touch, so
Yeah.
that you feel where you join. Of course, they can do it through this global portal that I told you that is existing there. But the idea is not to drive more traffic
No.
talking with it's rather to be another way to get in contact. So even today I got a new kind of person raising the hand to join us. What I will be doing now is to invite her for a call to explain her what it is all about, how it is going, and then she's in. We
Yeah.
will make a short intro, and then she's in. Yeah, so this is how I feel it should be, really, if you want to put the advocate in the heart.
Yeah. I think what's really clear about your program, and maybe this is what happens when it's driven by HR, because a marketing person is all about the clicks, views, engagements, and do you know what I mean? Reach, impressions. Because marketing in B2B, we're measured that way. We're measured
We
by,
measure it as well. Don't
yeah,
get it wrong. But
yeah, but your priority is to put employees at the heart
yeah,
of it, which I think is very clear, um, here, rather than the employees as a channel for content, which I
absolutely.
think,
Yes.
I'm not saying all marketing's like that, but I am a marketer and I think like that, and it's very interesting. And I absolutely believe in the way that you're doing it, which is employee centric, approach, which is the human centered approach, and you grow it organically in that way. Um, just pivoting a little bit, what do you think the relationship is between employer branding and talent acquisition? There is a relationship and it's very clear, but have you seen employees being part of that process? Has that helped with talent acquisition? Do you measure that at all, or how does that work?
We work with the talent acquisition team really closely on
Yeah.
all the projects that in general we run in the talent team. That is, huge. There is very often an employer branding person and talent acquisition working together, because you cannot put in place a new recruitment platform if there is no employer branding uh, part covered, or vice versa. I cannot put in place advocacy if there is no talent acquisition persons. Actually, the recruiters are uh, very kind of really target group for the advocacy program, and we work with them separately to train them, because having they are they are looking on the advocacy as a channel, and it
Mhm.
makes perfect sense, to be honest. It also, through the data, we can prove that it brings value for converting all those vacancies that are shared through the advocacy, through the colleagues, through the hiring managers, and etc. on the social media. They are much more trusted.
Yeah.
So the value that the candidates they bring, it's normal to have a higher, better fit to the positions.
Yeah, there's for anybody who's watching or listening to the podcast, there is a survey by Job Fight, and it's a little bit old now, but it's incredible. And it says of all the candidates that enter the interview process, only 11% of them are typically employee referred candidates. But actually, employee the candidates that are employee referred that then accept the role, they stay longer, they onboard quicker. They're more engaged. They're more productive. I mean, the data is really quite clear that employee referred candidates through talent acquisition are quite, they're a good asset for a company. So I love that. So I've got one, I know we're really up on time here, so I'm going to start closing it out. And if anyone's got any more questions for me to put to Maya, please let me know. One thing that you're looking at now is about influencers, employees as influencers, and identifying ambassadors that are, that not can speak on behalf of the brand, but have a passion for topics that align to the brand. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you're thinking there?
I think this goes very close to this idea of having employer brand through employees, driven by the employees. It is still, let's say, in the cooking phase, how it will be organized and everything. But thanks to working with Tribal, actually we are able to identify the pool of people who we may invite to join. We will start small. It will be a step-by-step process to really build the capabilities of those, let's say, internal. I'm not sure if it should be told influencers or creators or something else, because it's a lot of connotations around the word. But anyhow, doesn't matter. The people that are eager to create content and somehow working, being the host of this global community. I already have some names that pop up in my mind of those super excited people for doing it. So it will be an exciting journey.
Yeah, and employees as influencers, employee experts, like you say, whatever you call it. I think the voice of the employee and the brand helping facilitate that voice in a piece of content, whatever suits them, TikTok video, blog, whatever.
Exactly. Instagram story, whatever. Whatever.
Give them the skills to be able to tell their story in a passionate way. I love it. Some exciting things going on there. You touched on it at the very start, but I'm going to ask you the question again. Where do you see the future of employer branding going? And I think there's a thread that you've taken through this chat, which I think is quite clear.
I think you can feel the answer.
Yeah, employee driven.
Yeah, employee driven. Also, now with this buzz on, ChatGPT, the arrival of ChatGPT, and this and that. Of course, everybody has tested it. At least everybody that I know has tested it, and it made me thinking a lot about the how this whole AI-driven tools that will obviously support and bring more efficiency to what we do, how they will shape the trust part.
Oh, yeah. Good question.
So, when now it's going to be probably much more easy to create content. However, it is it is a kind of wake-up call for all people that communicate. Are we really able to tell the story that we want to tell, and how to tell it so that it brings this authenticity and trust? I had one kind of really interesting talk with the students. We've been soundboarding a new project that we are going to start, and we just met with some really progressive young minds, and when we soundboarded our ideas for some very different outside of advocacy communication campaign, all of them, like 80% of the entire group that we had in front of us, they said, we are tired to see companies communicating in one and the same way. If you replace the name of the company, what they say is the same. So we really want to have this simpler wording, simpler communication that is meaningful and is saying something. So when you say diversity, really go and prove it. Tell us what you do. When you say a campaign, what is really different in what you offer. And this is I think this is as well going to to bring to employer branding, the challenge is to, from one side, differentiate the approach
Mhm.
to the targeting groups of talents, knowing them better and better, knowing their digital footprint and everything. Uh, but for me, the question with how you make it human, how you make it trustable, how you really make it authentic.
Yeah, yeah, the voice, your unique voice, yeah, and that's amazing. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it was only today, I think, Google announced Bard, or was it yesterday? So straight
Yeah.
off we go. Here we are. So I've just dated the podcast now, but there you go. Anybody who's watching this in 2 years' time, who knows what the landscape looks like? Um, do you know, Maya, there's a few things that I've taken from this conversation, which I absolutely love, which is, the touch and turn, how you scale a program by identifying people that you think could fit well in your community and sort of touch and turn them in. Love that. When you're an advocate because you feel it. And I think getting back to basics is key for me. It's, from what you've said, an employee centered approach to advocacy starts with the employee, and not all feel it, and that's fine. Work with the ones that do, and then bring on the ones that come to that conclusion. I love that. We're not here to drive traffic, and that just talks about, when you bring people into the platform, how do you do that? I just have a conversation with them. How wonderful is that? An employer brand driven by employees, for me, that is very interesting. I think for and your conversation around AI driven advocacy and the impact that will have on trust and authenticity. That's a whole conversation that I'm thinking actually we could have at our event that's coming up. So I think that's a great topic. But yeah, I think this is brilliant. Maya, thank you
Thank
so
you so much.
much. I really appreciate it. And for anyone listening, watching the recording, I guess they can find you on LinkedIn, Maya. Just search you
Absolutely.
up and just connect. That would be great. But
It
thank you
would be
very much.
great. Yeah. Very open to talk with, discussing and talking and, yeah, on the
Oh,
topic.
super. Thank you, Maya. Thanks. And we'll see you all next week, next Wednesday.
Absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye bye.
Ciao. Bye.